Oh. Welcome to today's video, which is all about solving a problem the cycling industry has created. Specifically, I'm going to use a BBinfinite to fix a nasty bottom bracket. But there's a little bit of a problem here. You thought I clickbaited you with that $515 thing in the title? Nope, that's the truth. Because regrettably, I screwed up. And I have two BBinfinites because I ordered the wrong one the first time around.
Were you aware that there are three types of T47, and it can get a little bit confusing because there's T47E, or external, and there's T47I, or T47 internal, and there's T47A. There's also a lot of confusion, and let's start out with that. When you go out to a manufacturer's website, a lot of times they'll just say T47. They're not telling you if it's T47 external or T47 internal. A dead giveaway that it's T47 external is if the bottom bracket shell fits 68 millimeters wide or 73, it's going to be external. Now, which one do we prefer? They're both excellent. The best thing about T47 external, you're not having to deal with this super thin flange, so it makes it easier to install. Unlike T47 internal, allows us to do an extremely wide bearing spacing. It allows the chainstays to start out in a very wide position because they don't have to come from a narrow position at 68 millimeters and then sweep out, and that adds dimension. So it allows for those larger tires to be much closer to the bottom bracket shell for a shorter chainstay.
The main reason I wet the bed is because my Argon 18 project bike hadn't arrived. I went to the BBinfinite website and I clicked all dub road. And then I went down and right away, I looked at this screen and I said, oh, it's not a Cervelo. So of course it's going to be this T47. And then I ordered this bottom bracket mistakenly. When what I should have done is kept going down and ordered this one. And this is completely my issue, as if you look at the Argon 18, it does say T47 86.5 in their description, which I never looked at. My Project Argon 18, when I got it straight from the factory with the original rival crank, did not have such a great spin. The force power meter cranks I upgraded to weren't much better. Let's give a quick frame of reference. XTRBB, XT crank. BB is over a year old with some hard riding on it. That's better than my new T47. One of the first reasons that I shop with BBinfinite is their excellent customer service, which I've had over the years. I believe this is module 6 and this is module 7. When I contacted them to let them know of my error and to ask them if I could return the external BB, they said sure, but they recommended to me that I actually try to sell it in Canada based on the duties back and forth and additional shipping. I said the heck with it and I'll send it back to you, and I just ordered the correct internal BB, which you see installed today. But another question to ask you is, how long can you go without actually servicing these BBs? Seems like every YouTube has got a video on how that creak or that click is not the cranks. In this case, I'm going to challenge them on that.
20 minutes later.
Pretty good. These bearings lasted 6 years. I replaced them with some new 6805s and put in some new top hats, and we should be ready to go again.
Looky, looky. It was actually the bottom bracket. The reason these BBinfinite bottom brackets are so good is the module concept they use, which I discuss in this video right here. The way these traditional bottom brackets, either this Shimano BSA or this SRAM T47 work, is you have a plastic sleeve in between, which essentially seals out water. But these cups essentially are independent. Showing it on here, I screw these in on either side. And if there's any misalignments, what happens is there's going to be differential loading or the spindle's not going to be straight. The bottom line is it's not going to turn that smooth. Whereas, as far as I'm aware, for T47, the only one that uses a module that I can see is BBinfinite in the screw-on threads. Let me show you. So the way they do it is they have a Delrin retaining ring on this side, and you drive a solid module through with an interference fit on this Delrin ring on the non-drive side, I believe. Or actually, this is the drive side. That's right. So there's more likelihood, considering you've got a slightly heavier solid aluminum sleeve, that these bearings are going to be lined up. But we'll see if this is true in our test today. If you want a little bit more detailed explanation of this, feel free to watch the BBinfinite propaganda here. Link in the description. Here is what you get with the BBinfinite kit. You get the module, you get your shields, you get your top hats or top caps, you get a Delrin ring, which fits on here during install, and you get a tool. The tool is the equivalent, if you can see here, to the Park BB4716. The external module is identical, except for you drive it in. You can see your bottom bracket shell would be narrower for this. If I line that up, lines up kind of like this. And you use a standard BB19-2, I believe, which is a Shimano wider driver. That, of course, is going back to BBinfinite. I have no idea why you would design something with a 2mm flange to put this tool against. You have a 2.5 and a 4.5mm protrusion. Why can't you make this thicker? Let's do a weight comparison. BBinfinite. SRAM DUB. So obviously the module has a slight weight penalty, which will be more than made up, I hope, by its performance benefit. And just for the comments, these weigh almost nothing. This is a dog park dumpster fire. This narrow flange you tighten down to 50 Newton meters. I propose you can make this flange thicker. You've got a 4.5 mil spacer on the drive side and a 2.5 mil spacer on the non-drive side. Why couldn't you just make a little bit more room in here with the crank interface and double the thickness of this flange that you're tightening everything with?
The Bike Sauce has an excellent video on how to potentially solve this issue with a park tool. The issue for me is that, once again, the bike industry can pat itself on the back for solving a problem it created.
I can remember when SRAM came out with the 28.999999mm axle dub standard. Here are the tools for the install and removal of a SRAM dub crank. And these are the tools for the install and removal of a Shimano crank. See the difference? Probably one of the greatest threats to modern society is these cheap lock rings they use. The win for any home mechanic is Shimano. Installation on the drive side is with this Delron ring, or whatever they call it. Gary says you don't need any lube with this, just do it dry. And then just hand tighten it with the tool. Voila. On the non-drive side, the first thing we do is lube our hole. Oh yeah, baby. And then we drive the module. I always recommend doing everything by hand when it comes to threads to get it going. It's actually a bit of effort to get this in once you get it aligned. We know from my previous videos the threads on this BB are excellent. The final step is with the trusty dusty torque wrench is to get 30 Newton meters on here. If I had it the right way. Now you got to press in when you do this due to that tiny flange. There we go. 30 Newton meters. Everything's in. Next, we install the non-drive side bearing shield and top hat. I put a little grease on them. Next, we install, put a little grease on there again, the drive side bearing shield and top hat. Everything in here seems to be spinning quite smoothly. Next, we jam the hole with the non-drive side portion of the crank. Almost there. Then we just have to put a light 54 Newton meters on this small 8mm bolt. Oh, there we go. That did not require any effort. I have tightened up the preload adjuster and everything snugged as per manufacturer's specs, and there's no play in the crank. So let's see how my investment is going to work. I don't know if I see the difference. Maybe we need to do a side-by-side comparison.
Before you light me up, I know there is no pedals on the initial spin test, but I'm not taking that bottom bracket out to redo it. Not a chance. This is the cold, hard, brutal truth of being an international bottom bracket connoisseur. If you look at this, I essentially had to pay for shipping and duty twice and then to ship back the bottom bracket. That will be refunded. And I haven't pointed out yet in the video, but I've only bought the ABEC 7 model, not the more expensive ceramic models, which, if you talk to Hambini, I don't think his hairdresser likes that ceramic stuff too much.
It's almost addictive. I don't want to put the chain back on. BBinfinite, your product is as advertised, which I rarely say on this channel. Good job. With that, if you got any questions, you got any comments, you disagree with me, you want to light me up, put it down below. The weather is fantastic out, so ride hard.